Hey guys, so I saw that video. It was very, very touching and quite moving and everything. And so I understand there's some people watching the video and, they're in the mix of their challenge. And I'll share with you, I got through my challenge. I had one of two cancers in the world. The other guy didn't make it. I made it. And I had the opportunity to explore, what it takes to make it, right? So there's a lot of challenges in life, and it's how we work with the challenge. Um, and so I worked it. I took the recommended dosages and stuff. I was sick for quite a few years, in and out of the hospital for years. And I remember, like, after like 6 months of my first treatments, I was like, I need to get back to work. And I could just see, like, I've been scuba diving before, and it's like going deeper and deeper in scuba diving. You're like, the surface is really far away. I hope these tanks work well, and I hope my regulator's good, and hope all my scuba gear, the technology's working good, because I'm really far away from the surface. I don't think I can even hold my breath if I had to swim up there, you know? And that's what it was like when I was 6 months into treatment. And I ended up getting treatments for years. And and it all accumulated one day when I was all done with stuff. Uh, that I met a girl, and she had, been done with chemo for like 17 months. And she looked like she was dying. And I said, so, like, when are you done with chemo? She's like, I was done 17 months ago. And I'm like, why do you have a tube in your nose to feed? And she's like, oh, because, my stomach never turned back on. My intestines aren't really, I can't chew. But I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, and you're in a wheelchair, so how's your energy? Are you in the chair occasionally? She's like, more often than not. And I'm like, okay, and that's part of your lifestyle? Yes. Oh, okay. And so what did the doctors say for you? They're like, well, I'm done, so I'm alive. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I see you. I'm alive too. I'm done too. But what's up with you? Like what's your future? They're like, well, I don't have any energy, so I just basically sit around all day. Oh, okay. How long's that been? 17 months. Right. So when are you supposed to get your energy back? She's like, I don't know, maybe next month. And I said, wait, I've been hearing that same pitch. I've done sales. I'm familiar with a sales pitch. Check backs next month. Let's see how it goes. Check back and we'll see how it goes. So I was like, huh. I said, but after 17 months, aren't you like a little bit curious that there ought to be an improvement? And she's like, yeah, but maybe next month. I'm like, oh, right. Right. Okay. Good for you. Good for you. See you. Bye. I had this attitude of, when I was going through my treatment, that I'm not going to hang with someone who's like voluntarily dying. And people can say, oh, who's voluntarily dying? I'll say it. I shared rooms with lots of people, and I was in the hospital a lot for years. My chemo was all inpatient, and I had 6 months of radiation. It was 53,000 X-rays worth of radiation to my face. 6,800 rads, about 7,000 rads. And and I had like the highest dose of chemo that Stanford has given out for an adult. And so I had like the hardest core stuff. And in chemo for 10 months, although I was prescribed 11, and I lived in the hospital during those times, inpatient care. And like, there was people I would look at, and I was like, oh my God, this person doesn't look like they're gonna live. And my friends at the time were like, how can you tell? I said, just look at them. Can't you see it? They're not gonna do what's required to make it. They're just kind of like going through the paces. I don't know where they got that energy from. I don't know if they got it from school. Just do your homework, and next year and one day you'll grow up and get a job. But there's no creativity there. I don't see the wow, I'm making it vibe. And I had some really wonderful roommates, and I know, I mean, when they die, because like, they look like they're not alive, and they can't move, and the masks are here, and the stuff's everywhere, and you're like, they're done. They're done. You can take a look and go, that guy's done. And so I started to able to kind of like predict that. So when I got my chemo, there was people I wouldn't roll with, I wouldn't hang. I'm like, dude, I'm not going into a room with that person. Why? I ain't doing it. I'll not even take my treatment before I go into the room with that. That guy's psychic state is so worrisome to me that like I'm not gonna get near it. I don't want to be near death man walking. And then there was another person who I knew was gonna go and not make it, but he had a lot of love in his heart. He was really caring, and I know that he had his journey. That he was 45, nice wife, and I know she was heartbroken that he wasn't making the unique kind of efforts that I was, and I know that was very hard for her. But I guess we all live our own life, and he I think he had enough. He had done good work. He had a nice wife and stuff. I don't know a lot about him, but we had special time together, and he bought me some gifts and supported me in my path. And it was, I really embraced his gifts and thanked him, and still have a psychic relationship with him in a way. And he died, and it was great. And some people say, oh, why is that great? I say, well, that's your problem if you haven't got tight and good with we come from somewhere and we go to somewhere, and in between we're right here. So, if it's like a shot of wheatgrass, then, it is. But I lived that story of death and life continuously. And, what it was is I just committed to living. And I committed in the silent quietness of my heart. I committed in a smaller way than I feared. I went inside the fear. I went smaller than the fear. I went into the invisible space of the fear. I said, well, what's really inside of there? And it's some kind of like, well, I haven't lived yet. Well, I haven't done this. And I realized, when is a good time to die? When you're 100? Well, I still got grandkids. I want to see how they do. Well, when you're 40? Well, am I buying a house yet? What happened? I want to see my house. I want to buy a house. I want to have a wife. I want to have kids. I want to... I found that there wasn't even really like a great time to die. At any age, there's always something new and greater and beautiful. So I thought, why be so selfish? Why not die now? Why die later? And so I started to discover that, the reason why I wanted to live was simply to enjoy. And so I said, well, let's not wait years before I'm allowed to do that. Let's not wait till maybe I die. Let's just do it now. And so I started doing a bunch of things that were really enjoyable. I was always curious about outer space, always curious about inner space. I started meditating. And as I started meditating, I had amazing angelic experiences. I felt better than ever imaginable. And I was like almost surprised that I was like at the hospital, because I'm like, how can I be sick? I feel incredible. I am so cosmically connected. And all sorts of like beautiful things started tapping in, tuning on. And I just love death. I went skydiving. I did so many things that if I wasn't up against the gun, I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have had that internal permission. I wouldn't have felt like so deserving. I traveled for a couple of years around Asia. All these magical things came to me because I was just willing to believe. There's a book I highly recommend called As You Think, or As Man Thinketh, by James Allen. And inside of that book has the answers to believing and thinking and receiving the abundance of that which you want, which you speak. And I started meditating 10 minutes a night. It started turning into a couple hours because I just felt so good. I started telling people, no, I don't want to hear that drama. I don't want to hear the gossip. I don't want to hear what's wrong. I'm open to what's right. Or, I can't talk to you. I'm a cancer patient. Don't have room for it right now. And I rolled that way, and I just turned my TV off, started reading, started studying, fun things, beautiful things. The absence of disease is ultimate joy expressed through your body. It was a miracle. So however you want to deal with your journey, you can wake up and have a great, great time. And there's even more to it than that. So send me a message and we could chat more.